They say silence is golden, but when it comes to T.I., that silence feels more like a cry no one wants to hear. For over 20 years, we watched the king and his queen build something that looked untouchable, an empire rooted in love that seemed impossible to break. But take a closer look now. That's no longer the face of a man in control. It's the face of someone watching everything he built crumble right in front of him. The moment the interviewer asked the question everyone's been thinking, why, the entire room shifted. The energy dropped. T.I. didn't just dodge the question. He buried it deep. And every time he quietly repeated, "I don't want to say anything bad," it didn't sound like strength, it sounded like something inside him was breaking apart. Maybe he's trying to protect her, or maybe he's guarding a truth so heavy, it could destroy both of them if it ever came out. Meanwhile, the noise around 50 Cent keeps getting louder. The internet is hungry for a response. People are expecting war. But T.I. didn't fight back. Instead, he delivered something far more shocking, a quiet, almost painful surrender. No anger, no fire, just silence. So what does it mean? Is this respect, or is this what it looks like when a man has nothing left to hold on to? Get ready, because the king didn't just step down, he let go of the crown. And the truth he's refusing to speak on might be more heartbreaking than anything we've imagined. For 2 decades, T.I. and Tiny Harris weren't just seen as a couple, they became a symbol. From the beginning of their journey to the massive success of the family hustle, it felt like we were watching something real, something lasting. Fans believed they understood their story, believed they had seen every chapter. But the man sitting in that interview chair today doesn't resemble the king of the South people once admired. There's a weight in his eyes that no diamonds can disguise, and a silence in his voice that says more than any verse he's ever delivered. The conversation began normally, nothing out of the ordinary, until Tiny Harris was mentioned. In that instant, everything changed. The energy shifted. The confidence, the pride, the usual protective tone T.I. carries, it all disappeared. What replaced it was something distant, almost unsettling. T.I. has always commanded words effortlessly, a man who could break down anyone with precision. But when the topic turned to his marriage, to the separation that's shaken the industry, it was like those words abandoned him, or maybe he chose to abandon them. "I don't want to say anything bad," he repeated softly, his voice nearly fading. On the surface, it sounds honorable, a man choosing respect over chaos, refusing to publicly tear down the mother of his children. But for those who followed every twist of the story, it didn't feel that simple. It felt like protection, not just of a person, but of a truth too painful to face out loud. That silence didn't feel like respect alone, it felt like the quiet closing of a chapter. Like the end of something that once defined them both. What makes this situation hit even harder is the timing. For months, rumors have been circulating, but T.I. refusing to clarify when the separation actually began has left fans lost in uncertainty. When did things really fall apart? Was it during the legal struggles? Or did the pressure of constant public attention slowly pull them apart? By staying silent, T.I. hasn't just avoided the question. He's created a space where speculation keeps growing, and in that space, every possibility feels darker than the last. Every time he glances away from the camera, it feels like he's replaying moments that no longer belong to him. This isn't just about a breakup. It's about a man coming to terms with losing something he once believed was permanent. The absence of answers, no dates, no reasons, doesn't come across as simple privacy. It feels more like someone still trying to process what's happened, someone not ready to face the full weight of that loss. For years, T.I. has been seen as controlled, calculated, always in command. But in this moment, that image cracks. What we're seeing isn't the boss the world is used to, it's someone caught in between roles. On one side, the public figure who has to maintain composure, and on the other, a man dealing with the quiet collapse of a 20-year bond he can't seem to stop. And it's not just the separation itself that lingers, it's the message behind his silence, while the world ties Tiny Harris to 50 Cent in headlines and online chatter. The jokes, the posts, the constant noise, it's all circling his family, and yet T.I. doesn't react. No response, no defense, no retaliation. Instead of pushing back, he chose stillness. And that silence? It didn't come off as strategy, it felt like surrender. As viewers, we're left asking the question no one can ignore. Is this the closing chapter of an era? Has the king really stepped away from his crown? What T.I. says, and what he refuses to say, paints the image of a man who's exhausted. Not just tired of the noise, but worn down from the constant battles, the explanations, the need to keep up an image that may no longer reflect his reality. This isn't just gossip anymore. It feels like watching something meaningful slowly fall apart. The emotion in that room was impossible to ignore, and when T.I. gave that final look into the camera, it became obvious. Some truths hurt too much to speak, and some silence carries more weight than words ever could. People were expecting headlines, drama, something explosive. But instead, what unfolded felt deeply personal. A legacy, a relationship, and a reputation, all seemingly unraveling under the pressure of what's left unsaid. And as the moment faded out, one thought lingered. If someone like T.I. couldn't hold it all together, what does that say about everything we thought we understood? But the atmosphere didn't just shift, it intensified the moment attention turned to the outside noise. And at the center of that noise? 50 Cent. For years, T.I. and 50 Cent shared a certain level of respect, two major figures standing firm in their own lanes. But once 50 Cent started directing attention toward Tiny Harris, everything changed. The expectation was clear. People thought T.I. would respond with energy, with confidence, with the same sharp presence he's always been known for. Instead, what came back was something completely unexpected, a quiet, almost empty reaction that felt less like strength and more like letting go. When the interviewer brought up the online jokes, the viral memes, and the direct shots 50 Cent aimed at Tiny Harris, the reaction from T.I. was chilling in its own way. He didn't react the way people expected. No tension in his posture, no sharp comeback, just a quiet moment where he looked down at his hands, almost like he was measuring the years he spent holding something together that had already started falling apart. When he finally spoke, "I've got nothing but respect for the mother of my children," it didn't land with strength. It felt distant, like words he had to say, not words he truly felt in that moment. The passion wasn't there. The fire was gone. It sounded like someone coming to terms with the fact that the person he stood by for decades is now part of a story he no longer controls. The real bomb wasn't loud, it was in what he chose not to say. By briefly referencing the fight, hinting at the legal issues and public struggles they've faced, T.I. quietly made it clear that he's no longer stepping in as the main defender for Tiny Harris. And for someone whose identity has always been tied to family hustle and grand hustle, that shift hits differently. It suggests something deeper, that what they built isn't being attacked from the outside anymore, it's slowly breaking down from within. And when T.I. didn't respond to 50 Cent, fans didn't see it as restraint. They saw it as someone who simply doesn't have the energy to keep fighting. The reaction online changed almost instantly. Social media filled with comments from people who felt like they were watching a completely different version of T.I. "He looks defeated," one user wrote, gaining thousands of likes. Another said, "He's not hiding the truth, he's hiding how much this hurts." What makes this even more complex is the position he's in. If he speaks out, he risks defending something that clearly caused him pain. If he stays quiet, it looks like he's stepped away from everything he once stood for. And by choosing silence, T.I. revealed something far more personal, a level of vulnerability that left his supporters feeling the weight of it too. What makes it even more painful is what fans are calling the timeline gap. When asked directly about when things between T.I. and Tiny Harris started falling apart, he completely shut down. No date, no clarity, just silence. And that silence says a lot. It suggests that whatever went wrong didn't happen overnight. It had been building for a long time, hidden behind red carpets, TV cameras, and perfectly filtered moments online. The idea that while the world was celebrating their milestones, they were quietly drifting apart, that hits on a different level for anyone who's ever tried to hold on to something that was already slipping away. At this point, it stops feeling like celebrity news and starts feeling like something deeper. People watch them survive real challenges, legal battles, public controversies, personal mistakes. Through it all, they stood together. But now, seeing T.I. struggle to even meet the camera's gaze when Tiny Harris is mentioned alongside 50 Cent, it feels like everything has changed. Like the story people believed in has reached a moment no one expected. The energy, the connection, it's not there anymore. It's like everything just paused. And the bomb everyone was waiting for? It wasn't a shocking reveal or some hidden secret. It was something quieter, but heavier. The realization that even someone who seemed unshakable can reach a breaking point. As the interview continued, you could see it in T.I.'s posture, in the way he carried himself. This wasn't confidence, it was exhaustion. He looked like someone who no longer wanted to explain a story that doesn't have a clear ending anymore. When he said, "We're just in a different space," it didn't sound casual, it felt final. Not dramatic, just real. And maybe that's what makes it harder to watch. After 20 years, it feels less like a separation, and more like two people who slowly became distant, sharing only memories instead of a future. And while 50 Cent continues to stir conversation around it, T.I. choosing not to respond might be the most telling part of all. As the interview moved into its final moments, the tone shifted even further. It didn't feel like a discussion anymore, it felt like closure. The kind you don't say out loud. As the camera focused in, the room seemed quieter, heavier. This was the moment people were waiting for, not for drama, but for understanding. And what they got instead was something unexpected. T.I., known for his confidence, his words, his presence, reached a level of silence that said more than anything else could. Not the silence of control, but the kind that comes when someone realizes there's nothing left to fight for. The interviewer, feeling just how heavy the moment had become, leaned forward and asked the question everyone was thinking: is there still a way back for the king and his queen? T.I. didn't respond right away. You could see it hit him. He adjusted his glasses, stared down at the floor, and let out a deep breath that felt loaded with years of pressure, every controversy, every setback, every public moment they had endured together. And when he finally spoke, it wasn't a clear answer. It wasn't yes or no. It felt like something much deeper. Sometimes, he said quietly, the price of peace is losing the person you thought was your peace. That was the moment that stayed with people. Not because it exposed some hidden secret, but because of what it implied. It felt like an acknowledgement that the chapter built around family hustle had reached its end. What made T.I. and Tiny Harris stand out for so long was the idea of loyalty, of standing together no matter what. For years, they represented something people believed in. But now, seeing T.I. sit there, emotionally drained, admitting, without directly saying it, that he can no longer hold things together the way he once did, it hit differently. It showed that even the strongest connections can reach a point where they simply can't carry on the same way. And through all of this, one detail stood out more than anything: his complete refusal to even mention 50 Cent in those final moments. Normally, T.I. is known for his sharp responses, his ability to address anyone who steps out of line. But here, nothing. Not even a name. It wasn't strategy, it felt like exhaustion. Like someone who no longer has the energy to engage, even when pushed. While 50 Cent continues to keep the conversation alive and Tiny Harris remains at the center of it, T.I. chose silence. And for many watching, that silence said more than any response ever could. In those final moments, the timeline gap started to feel clearer. It wasn't that T.I. was hiding something scandalous. It felt like he was protecting something deeply painful. This didn't come from one explosive moment. It came from countless small fractures over time. And every time he repeated, "Kuch Bura Nahi Kena," it sounded less like restraint and more like someone holding back emotions he couldn't afford to release. It felt like a choice, to carry the weight himself, just to keep his children from seeing their mother torn down publicly. Not strength in the usual sense, but a quiet, heavy kind of sacrifice. What people are feeling now has shifted. It's no longer curiosity, it's something closer to sadness. The clips from that interview aren't being shared for drama anymore. They're being shared because people feel something watching them. It's like witnessing the end of something that once meant a lot. When T.I. said, "I just want to be remembered for the work," not the wreckage, it landed, but at the same time, it's hard for viewers to ignore what's right in front of them. In that moment, The image of the king faded, and what people saw instead was someone simply worn down by everything he's had to carry. As everything came to a close, the message felt undeniable. T.I. didn't just address the situation involving Tiny Harris. He quietly closed that chapter without ever fully opening it. There was no drama, no detailed explanation, just a heavy silence that said enough. It didn't feel like he was pushed out of his place. It felt like he stepped away because there was nothing left to hold on to. And while the conversation around 50 Cent continues and speculation keeps building, T.I. remains distant from it all. In the end, it became clear some moments don't arrive loudly. They arrive quietly, with a sense of finality that doesn't need to be explained. This is the point where we stop just watching and start feeling like part of something bigger. If you've stayed till now, it's because this story hit you too. For 20 years, we've followed T.I. and Tiny Harris. We've seen the rise, the loyalty, the moments that made them feel unshakable. And now, we're witnessing a silence that says more than any headline ever could. It's not often you see someone carry this level of vulnerability, and it's even rarer to see a legacy like this face such an uncertain ending. Now I want to hear your thoughts. What moment in this interview stayed with you the most? Do you believe T.I. is showing respect by staying quiet, or do you think there's a deeper truth he's choosing not to reveal? And with all the attention surrounding 50 Cent and the ongoing surviving T.I. and Tiny narrative, do you think the pressure has finally reached a breaking point? Drop it in the comments if you're hoping for peace on both sides, or share your perspective. Do you think this is truly the end, or is there something more still waiting to unfold? Your opinion matters here, so speak freely. And before you leave, if you appreciate content that goes beyond the surface and dives into the real emotions behind these stories, take a second to support the channel. Hit the like button so more people can see this, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Part 4 is on the way, and it's going even deeper into that timeline gap everyone's been talking about. Thanks for watching, for being here, and for staying engaged. Take care of yourselves, stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next one. The story of T.I. isn't finished yet.